we are just moving into game number 3, bringing you guys the content. Let me hit the play button for you guys now. Spawning in the blue, playing as the Abbasid Dynasty, representing Team Snake on the map Basin. It is Wham01, the first of his kind, spawning in as the Chinese, playing as the color purple. His twin counterpart, Puppy Paw and Dr. Dabston. Who they playing against?
Yeah, we got the same duo that we got to see the game before. It's Shiki in the south side. It is the French, and it is Neptune on the northeastern side, and it is the Chinese. And I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of time here now because these are the two civs that I'm used to seeing these two players play. And yes, I'm talking about Shiki and Neptune. They're team game players on the ladder quite a bit. And Neptune, known for his Chinese, very, very scary, as well as Shiki for his French. I've had some crazy games. I've seen some crazy games against it. And Shiki, usually you'll see him at about 3 town centers at some point in the game on the French, and just, again, nonstop nights. Neptune, it's China. You expect the eco there. You expect the boom, as always. And so this is really one that's going to be exciting. Basin is a map that is a lot of action, typically. Middle sacred site, middle map has a ton of resources.
Yeah, let's take a scan of the middle of this map that you so correctly pointed out. I mean, there's all 4 resources here, along with 4 relics actually in the middle of the basin. So we are going to see a lot of basin battles, a lot of contestation over this middle sacred site. And I think this is really going to drive where the victor actually stems from. If you could take the basin, you could take the game.
Absolutely. And this is one where, like, Basin, we've seen, I feel like, a couple more wood lines pop up in the recent patches, which sometimes it's, has an ill effect on the game. Sometimes it's absolutely fine. But with this one, you can kind of start seeing the edges of the map have a ton of those small wood lines. You're able to, obviously get the extra wood, but it makes it harder for knights to run through and kind of be safe and secure. You can, cut them off with some spears at times using these choke points.
Yeah, no, you certainly can. And it looks like, based on the wood lines that I'm seeing, it looks like Neptune is the only one with his wood line being in the back, the rest of them being more forward. So maybe we'll see if that's a contesting area for Neptune to do as he gets that eco with the wood line. But Wham, going to be the first one going up to Feudal Age and hitting that trade wing button first. Dabston, how do you feel about it?
This is one that it is hard to punish quickly. I actually saw, not Tradewing, but I saw Chamber of Commerce pulled out recently on a 2v2 on the pit. And it was one that it was very hard to punish. And by the time the first couple traders, turn in, even if they die, they have made their payment. They have made their dues. So it's one that I don't really hate to see. But if it's scouted out, obviously Shiki is on the French, so could get those knights across and could try to deny that trade quite quickly.
Yeah, and I think just because of just like we saw in Game 2, it feels like Game 2 might be a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's to come with these French knights just having the mobility. And this is so nice with having French on your team or as playing the French. It gives you at least some sort of combatants to stop that trade, just like Puppy Paw did with all of those veteran Royal Knights in Castle Age. So we'll see if he's able to do that. I'm not seeing anything from Shiki. I'm not seeing any stone yet, actually.
Yeah, no, he is a guy that he'll do the typical early nights, and then it's just all of a sudden you blink and he has 3 TCs. It's out of nowhere typically, and sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4, but usually it's by the time he's Castle Age, 3 TCs are out, or the 3rd TC is on its way. Speaking of 3, we got those 3 traders moving on across towards that market. Market's in a good, solid location for him to just not even worry about the second trip back, with already having a villager all the way on the western corner to have the first trip be the most efficient as possible.
Yeah, look at that market actually just getting completed as soon as this sentence is done. But this trader triumvirate, I'm very interested to see how much gold he's able to get from this trade side. As we know, those 2v2 maps going to be a little bit bigger, and Grand Bazaar was completed by Wham. So I want to take a look really quick. That is... Oh, okay, bud. You know, 44 food, 178 gold coming straight to the dome for Wham. Shiki got something to say about it, though. First Royal Knight hitting the battlefield with a scout next to him.
Yeah, problem is he's headed towards where that neutral market is, not where the target market is. So he's gonna have to either find out where those traders are, which, look at the wood line. Is there just like almost a lane behind Wham's base for trade from this wood line?
That's insane.
He might be able to wall up where the traders just walked through and then force the traders behind this natural wooden wall. And this could just be some of the safest trade I've ever seen.
You might be right. We do say map spawns are a little bit RNG, but to be quite frank, if he's able to do that, this is bullshit.
Instead, though, it looks like he's just choosing to connect up all those trees, as I was mentioning earlier, making those smaller choke points, making it harder for those knights to find any damage. The two knights are together, and a third knight on its way. And not only is Wham walling, Puppy is walling as well with the Chinese. He's already gone up to Song Dynasty. So has Neptune, but Neptune, he's got the range that is being supervised, and chooks are being pumped out. Whereas Puppy, he's doing the spears right now. So Wham and Puppy both playing spear game, and Neptune is having that perfect counter that, yes, they counter the spears, but they also counter everything when you get too much of a mass.
Oh yeah, and being able to supervise an archery range, being able to pump out Zuganu so quickly. If you are able to supervise, he did take it off. If you are able to supervise, you can pump out a Zuganu every 6 seconds, which again is bullshit. But the Knights from Cheeky trying to get a little raid on Puppy Paw. Looks like Puppy Paw trying to get a little 2TC song action to get a little boom. Let's see if he's able to do it. This stone is pretty out there for him.
Yeah, so I'm about to alert you to two key things. First, all the way in the north, we got the chooks that got through, but even further next to the market, there's a villager that's building an outpost. So next, your natural reaction if you're Wham and you see an outpost is like, all right, I'm just gonna switch markets to the southern market. Well, go ahead and look at the southern market real quick.
Yeah, I see. I'm seeing what you're seeing here, Dabs. There's a lot of markets over here.
So I might have been wrong about the 3TC play. It might have just been a triple market play that Shiki's looking for now. So changing up his typical glide path, and he's just going to trade boom behind this because he sees that Puppy and Wham, they're walling themselves in. They are laying this invitation out there for them to trade boom.
Yeah, they definitely are, because they're trying to get trade boom going by themselves, and it seems like it's one of those that you almost want to go into all chat and be like, hey, I'm going to trade. If you guys want to trade, that's fine. In like 10 minutes, we'll get the trade going, and then we'll actually take fights. But they definitely did not do that this round, because we're seeing Shiki's Royal Knights just kiting Spearmint essentially to the ends of the earth, to which Peppypaw and Wham are kind of saying enough of. They're going to be adding horsemen of their own to try to combat Neptune's Zugnu. But how much would you say in terms of a massive Zugnu when it becomes that critical, dangerous mass?
It really does depend on how many horsemen there are on the other side, because if there are 10 horsemen, then you're going to need a ton more Zhugs. But the key is it's not just going to be chooks. It's going to be knights and chooks, because those knights have the mobility. They're going to be able to help on out. And so this is the point where I feel like if Neptune gets to 20, it's more than enough. Like in this timing, like in the next couple minutes, if he gets up to 20 chooks, it's more than enough in this. But we already see that Wham, he kind of pushed some of those units out, and there are only 6, and the outpost is upgraded with hand cannon slits and getting fortified as well. But they have no idea about what's going on the other side of the map. They haven't even scouted out the opposite corner.
Yeah, I mean, as far as this trade, they have no idea that Shiki's pulling out these traders for 181 gold a pop. And also, Neptune behind it is going second TC instead of doing his own trade, while Puppy Paw, instead of doing his own trade, going for 2 TC Song as well. It kind of feels like a mirror of sorts.
Yeah, the key difference in this mirror is Abbasid has 3 traders that aren't trading right now. They did that first trip and that was it. All Wham's been doing is investing into stuff to try to take down this outpost and restart his trade. But Shiki, he's doing the trade trick. So all these traders are immediately dropping off, and he's got one, two, I mean, you can count them up, or you can just click the market, I believe. Is it the market? If you're under Shiki or whatever it is?
Let me take a look.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he has 9 traders. If you switch under Shiki and click the target market, 10 now. And so this is where, even if Wham clears this up and gets his trade back online, this is too much from Shiki. He is just nonstop booming here. 3 markets nonstop producing, has not been spotted out yet. And this is where, like, in a couple minutes, Uppy and Wham are going to be like, how does Shiki able to afford this? How does he have so much?
Yeah, and this is probably something, as a team game player yourself, you've probably ran into a couple times. You're like, why am I facing down the barrel of 40 knights? And it's because somebody traded behind that you just didn't scout. And Neptune's going to be the first one to actually go up to Castle Age with this 2 TC Song, going with the Imperial Palace, which I like to call in team games a cheat code.
Yeah, map hacks initiated is what I call it sometimes when it finishes. Not only that, these French traders, you can swap them to other resources. I'm pretty sure I just spotted one drop off some wood, and you can do that right before they drop off. So if you all of a sudden realize you need some wood, you need some extra food instead of gold, you can always switch it on over. And Shiki did exactly that. He is onto the stone now. So this might be the point where he starts doing what I said, where trade and a couple TCs.
Yeah, and I think this is part of what French trade becomes as good as it is. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people forget about. Because if you're able to do things like get a couple traders where they're just going to get off gold, you don't really need gold, you switch to stone, maybe you get a second town center. Just that ability to adapt makes it as powerful as it is, wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like Wham is having the idea to maybe pressure some of these Chinese villagers. Headed back towards that kind of corner of the map. Spears, archers able to find some Vil damage right above where these horsemen are as well, but still palace guards are now out, and this should clear up everything. And you can tell they still have no idea about the trade, because the horsemen would have gone and burnt this target market. They would have been the immediate spot right now. If they burn target market right now, the trade is stopped for the time being. But they're just circling around with these units still, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to find.
That's disastrous too, and I think I want to take a look at Wham's vision and Puppy Paw's vision. It looks like right now, with those 2 archers just going to the ends of the earth, they just found that market right now, 13 minutes in. That's really late.
Yeah, and that's where you see the market and you're like, oh no, how many traders are there actually? And this is where I think he's going to send these spears that we're looking at right now over to see how heavy that trade is. And when you get to the point where you start seeing 5, 7, 8 traders in this shorter location, and as I say that, the other units are getting cleared up. So, I mean, these spears might not actually even be long for this world.
Yeah, they might not. I mean, Wham and Puppy Paw do have the military lead, 35-24, but a lot of them being hardened spearmen, no blacksmith upgrades in Feudal Age. But as soon as I say that, Wham actually going to be going up into Castle Age with the military wing, going to be trying to take down some of the trade with a little bit better units.
Yeah, a little bit better units, but still the problem I find here is what, like, we see up at the top right now, the eco numbers looks the same, but the traders are doubled compared to Puppy and Wham. The military numbers look the same, but the quality is at Shiki and Neptune's side, like by a lot, because we're talking about French knights and we're talking about palace guards. French knights are, I would say, one of the best units in the whole entire game to have. Finally, a couple traders get taken down, but at what cost right now? Like, this is at the cost of a lot of units for Puppy Paw once this gets cleared up, because I'm sure it's just going to be palace guards that are going to go clear up this little bit of raiding party.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all you need to with the Castle Age Spearmen and the Zugnews and the Palace Guards. Just having that little bit of increased speed with a movement speed of 1.38 tiles when they're not charging, they'll be able to get there pretty quickly. Shiki's Royal Knights now hitting veteran status, so that little bit of mobility is really going to help him out. So we might see a little bit of a counter trade issue, but a lot of these French traders actually from Shiki, I'm looking at a lot of dead donkeys on the ground, maybe about 4 or 5 before those Royal Knights come in.
Yeah, there definitely are a good amount, but fortunately for them, even with all of this death from these traders, they still have more traders out than the other. And now when you're looking at the military numbers have flipped completely upside down, and I'm still going to say the same thing earlier. The quality is also on Shiki and Neptune's side. So they, again, Puppy and Wham traded 20 units right there to kill the traders and get it somewhat even on the eco, but now the military is about to be at the point where I feel like Neptune and Shiki can just send those palace guards, burn through a wall, or chop through if you want to do it quicker and secret, and just mess up the eco even harder, because it's going to be that much harder for their units to be cleared compared to spearmen.
Yeah, and it looks like good call by you yet again. It looks like that's exactly what we're doing. We get a horde of about 20-ish palace guards trying to take down this palisade wall. Now, Wham has been doing a good job trying to get his traders going. I want to take a look. I am on his screen. He's got about 29 over here, so has been doing a good job in terms of trade boom, but I feel like just because of how many palace guards are here, we're going to see that 29 went up to 32, going to go down, maybe even get cut in half.
Yeah, there's 29 traders, there's 29 palace guards here. The knights are still circling around the other sides of the map. Puppy's trying to find some pressure on their trade, and he actually does drop a keep on that other side of the map, but walls are still there, wooden walls in effect, and I think Puppy's going to go through for a chop through and try to keep past this trade, but Shiki has a ton of walls. Palace guards, though, have gotten through, and we're going to start seeing some of these engagements.
Yeah, it looks like they are going up against one of their counters, the Lancers, but because of how many Lancers there are, actually doing a good job trying to take care of these Palace Guards and get them to back up in the reverse direction. A couple of donkeys going down in the process, and now with Shiki, just like you said, with these keeps trying to come up, Shiki adding a keep. I see a blueprint over here on the south side, and I think he is trying to go through a chop through. I see a lot of puppy paw Chinese villagers. Oh no, they're just gonna pull their torches out. They're going the hard way.
Yeah, and some knights in the mid-map as things are getting more hectic. Gonna go for some raids on the mid-map. Those palace guards, they have gotten cleaned up because Puppy came with crossbows, but they have done their job pretty effectively. As again, now look at the numbers flip back and forth. Wham and Puppy way ahead on the military, down a ton on the eco, and still more palace guards in the eco still to be traded. But will we see this hold coming out now from Shiki and Neptune, who have the trade? They have the ability to remass back up the units, but they need to do it quick because they are vulnerable right now.
Yeah, this is such an interesting dynamic. Look at all of these knights and palace guards trying to take down one of these villagers. Neptune adding probably about 10 to 13 villagers of his own trying to get to an area for this trade. And this is such an interesting dynamic with, oh my god, look at all these villagers from Wham. I think they're about to go down trying to get these stone walls, Davs.
Stone walls are attempting to go up, but they do have a good amount of units there. Puppy did get a keep down in the south, but there was a keep already that it got up for Shiki, so going to be hard to actually get through to deny this trade, and it looks like a siege war about to start.
Yep, those siege workshops coming down. This is such an interesting dynamic in this game, because usually when we're seeing basin, we talk about how important it is to take control of the basin, and we talked about that in Dark Age, trying to do our own little bit of foreshadowing, but it's the trade routes that are most important on the corners. Now Neptune is actually the first one to go to Imperial Age. Spirit Way going to be coming up, and now we're going to see a little bit of a difference in the quality of Neptune's units.
Yeah, so he did go up to Imperial. They are lacking heavily in the military count. They need to hold this. They need to get military numbers up fast because they are lacking heavily right now.
There's a Wololo. I didn't think it was going to get anybody, but those villagers end up being safe, a good strategic use of that monk. Now, Lancers for the Abbasid dynasty of Wham trying to get a lot of these Chinese villagers down against a 2TC song. You know there's some of these pockets somewhere. You know there's a granary economy somewhere. And Wham is trying to find it and get a couple kills on the south side, trying to take down this trade route from Shiki. Puppy Paws adding some counterweight trebuchets of his own, but now look at this, Dabs. Big fight coming out with a ranged mass with Puppy Paws.
Huge mass, and you would think, hey, it's crossbows and the knights, but those are royal bloodlines knights. They're kind of, I mean, they're losing this fight pretty heavily, but it's a better trade than what would have been realized. Still don't think it's one that Shiki would have wanted to take, but the eco he has behind it should be able to remass back up. Their biggest worry now was this all-in, and the all-in has somewhat been stopped for the time being. They're still having their military doubled, but they're bringing relics back in finally. They're dropping more keeps as well.
Yeah, they are bringing in relics. They are bringing in keeps. On the backside, the trade line of Shiki is getting harassed by a couple of Wham Lancers, so hopefully that will have an impact on the economy going forward. Couple monks with a couple relics for Neptune. It looks like Puppy Paw is trying to take it to him in Castle Age instead of going Imperial. They're just trying to send it.
Yeah, they are trying to send it. Puppy actually able to drop his Imperial Age soon, I believe. But at the same time, like you said, now the basin is starting to be controlled by Puppy and Wham, it looks like. They're moving further forward. Puppy is dropping the Great Wall Gatehouse in the basin, and Wham is dropping a keep there as well.
You love a good Great Wall Gatehouse. Let's take a look really quick. Right smack dab in the middle. This thing with the nest of bees in placement is going to be such an issue if Shiki decides to use all of these Royal Knights and not only attack spears, but attack under it if it gets completed in time. But because of those having Royal Bloodlines and having as much health as they do, they're so cost effective against even their counterpart.
The Trebs! This is that problem with doing building all that proxy siege. There's nowhere for the Trebs to go. There's a couple barracks that just got dropped a second ago. Villagers pulled to try to heal up the Trebs or do something, but no, not going to be any use there as all of the siege gets taken down. The keep and the trade line main route gets to stay alive, but look at how many traders on that route right now, on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking a look at Shiki's trade line right now, and Wham actually getting his Castle Age Lancers over here and getting a lot of dead donkeys. Looks like Elite Palace Guards from Neptune is going to be able to help out, and a little bit of those Pseudo-Imperial Age Royal Knights as well. But if we take a look at Wham with the market, 64 traders. If we take a look at Shiki, exactly the same at 64. There are battle markers going around everywhere, Dabs. There's about 5 or 6 that just hit my ears.
Yeah, and the problem now that I see for Wham is he keeps trying to raid the trade with Lancers. He gets like 2 or 3 Lancers there, kills some traders, but loses like 10 on the way. That's not a good trade because the traders, they have that short trip. They're just being remade constantly. He's up, I mean, a second ago he was up at 80. Yeah, now he's down to 60 something, but the worst part of it is Lancer numbers falling and falling and falling for Wham and climbing for Shiki and Neptune now. The Night Mass for Shiki is so scary. Royal Bloodlines, we saw him trading in the crossbows. We see him trading in the spears because he just doesn't care anymore. His eco is that strong.
Yeah, and because of your ability and that extra health, trading against those spearmen, it's not really the worst thing in the world, even though these spearmen from Wham, they are the boot camp variety. They most likely have the phalanx upgrade as well. So, I mean, yeah, it's not exactly cost effective, but you're right, because of the economy. Cost effectiveness be damned.
Yep. Looks like Shiki and Neptune finally pushing Wham back here in the middle. Puppy Paw distracted on the other side of the map, trying to, find a way through to this trade, trying to find somewhere that they're able to pressure. And all through this time, Neptune, he's been the one now going untouched. And if we know anything about China, when they go untouched in the late game, they get unbeatable.
Yeah, not good. We're seeing Elite Palace Guards and veteran spearmen going to be able to try to take it to this Abbasid dynasty composed of predominantly spearmen and camel riders. He's going for basically the anti-knight kind of build, but if you're going to come up against the Chinese, it's going to be difficult for you to do that. Now on the south side, Puppy Paw finally able to get through this keep and get through this wall. We have a couple of Chinese bombards. We have a nest of bees with a lot of spearmen. Now this is going to be a huge issue for Shiki trying to preserve this trade.
Yep, the keep trade has happened, but the 3 cannons are there. Villagers there to try to build up another keep. There's 15 of them, but look at what he's doing. All his reinforcing units headed that way. There's only 7, 8 spearmen there, all at half health. I think the knights might be able to get here in time and stop it.
Yeah, I think with how quickly the Chinese build the keeps, let's see if those knights, they actually took a liking to those bombards and the nest of bees instead. So this keep going to be at about 60%. I think it will go up, Dabs, and this is going to be such an issue for Shiki because of what's going on in the basin. This northern trading post basically unavailable. It's so massive.
No. Look at what's going on in Wham's base.
Oh my god.
That mass from Neptune that we talked about, he's getting to the point where it's going to be like a Burgrave times 10. He's just going to be able to send units in non-stop streaming across the map, but he's not even have his units die. He has so many there.
Oh yeah, and just for how tanky they are too. We also have some DPS in the back with hand cannoneers with chemistry. So a lot of these Castle Age Lancers are going to be hand cannon fodder more than anything else, and now we're going to get right into that Wham trade line as well. Both trade lines getting disintegrated.
Yeah, Shiki's down to 20 right now. Wham's up at 80, but I don't think he's going to be at 80 for too much longer, as those Palace Guards, those spears, they're just obliterating everything in sight. Puppy now trying to come over, trying to help that mid-map, but this will allow French to retake that control, maybe retake the trade, or what I would think he would do now is maybe try to transition trade with his teammate, at least for the time being. Wham, though, those trade numbers, they're falling so fast. All his numbers are falling so fast.
Yeah, they are falling wicked fast, down to 59 now from the 70-some odd. And I like what you said about Puppy Paw trying to help Wham out and pull over. We'll find a couple villagers in here, but whenever you're playing a team game like this with 2v2, when the variables, instead of 2, they're 4, you got to play chess instead of playing checkers, because Puppy Paw had to move a lot of his units all the way around. That means there is a lot of raiding, and Shiki is going to be essentially untouched. We have a lot of horsemen. We have a lot of knights coming in. Wham losing a lot of food villagers. His trade's going down. His food's going down. This is going to spell trouble.
Yeah, it's looking like they're trying to turn this more into a 2v1 than a 2v2, and they are somewhat effectively doing that. As Wham's eco numbers, you can see it, you just pulled up the resources, he's at like nothing right now, and his numbers are at like nothing. Puppy Paw, though, he is shining on that full eco. He's got units all around the backside of Shiki's base as well. It looks like a huge base trade, but now he's found Puppy Paw's main gold bills too.
Oh no, look at how many gold bills that is. 26 and an IO trying to get that gold. Not going to be able to do it. Puppy Paw does have a lot of barracks here. We'll be able to stream out some spearmen and some elite palace guards, but look how much food he's on. He's on about 500 food. He's on about 19 gold. That was the only thing he had about gold. Puppy Paw wasn't the twin who was trading.
And Shiki has dropped a market for, or Neptune's dropped a market for Shiki. It's going to be some awful trade, but at least it will be trade nonetheless. Neptune, though, you pulled up the resources in the bank a second ago. I think I saw 5,000 on food, 5,000 on wood. He has more than enough to do whatever he wants. He's still in the backside, all the way in the corner of Wham's trade now.
Oh no, look at it all.
It's not the villagers screaming, it's the traders screaming this time.
I didn't know the traders could scream that loud, and these crossbowmen are trying to come to help him out to take down some of these palace guards, but Dabs, I think the damage is done. Look at how many empty baskets and donkey bodies are on the ground.
Yeah, and look at the pink still just streaming all over the map. It's like he's like, oh, Neptune's like, all right, Shiki, I got this one. You did the early game. Let me take on over, and take on over he is. He is 1v2ing Wham and Puppy right now. He's taking Puppy's army, taking Puppy's eco in the center. Probably gonna go for that Great Wall Gatehouse, but also in the backside, he's got Palace Guards. He's non-stop raiding. He's crushing Wham's eco. He's dropped a forward keep, retaking mid-map, retaking the gold, and Puppy and Wham are both struggling, as Puppy now has his granary ecos with Palace Guards all throughout as well.
And there is nothing to support here too. There is no outposts. There are no any kind of soldiers of any aspect over here. Puppy's trying to get his Palace Guards all the way over here, pulled absolutely out of position. And look at what Neptune's doing. He's got maybe about 10 to 15 Palace Guards just in different squadrons, commanding them all rather seamlessly. And look at how many idle villagers Puppy Paw has right now.
Target market burnt by Shiki. So every single one of Wham's traders, look at them right now. Look at the difference. They're headed towards the House of Wisdom. Wham now has even less of an eco and even less of a game. Shiki and Neptune taking the third game, and what an exciting series we had.
Wow. That was a fantastic way to end it.